What's up, ladies and gentlemen, tricksters and tricksetters? Today we have the first Ultimate Agents tier list presented by your favorite Radiant coach. This is not gonna be your classic Agents tier list where I tell you, like this guy is S tier, this guy is B tier, C tier, garbage, etc, etc. This is gonna be a bit different because I also wanna help you find your perfect playstyle and find something that is gonna truly carry you as a player, but also in ranked solo queue. Why would you trust me and listen to my guide in this video? I've been a Radiant coach for the last 4 years. I've coached around 3,800 players successfully in the last 3.5 years, from Iron to even Radiant players that went pro or semi-pro. Content creators, like, name it. If you like this video, make sure to also leave a subscribe, join the Tricksters community, all of the good stuff, and make sure to join my Discord server if you want to get my private professional coaching. Now, let's dive into the video. First thing that we need to discuss when it comes to your improvement in Valorant and when it comes to you growing as a player, becoming an esports professional, reaching Radiant, is what is your main goal in a game of Valorant? Your main goal should essentially be playing with better players as soon as possible by abusing any means necessary. Any slight advantage that you can get above the enemies, you should abuse it. And that is why every tip, every strategy, every tactic matters a lot, as well as the agent that you're playing. Your second goal is developing yourself as an individual player, trying to develop your clutch potential, trying to develop your team play potential, your communication, mentality, attitude, finding a solo value and reaching Radiant. My main value is usually my clutch potential, the way how I think in the game, like, big brain tactics and strategies, and my overall adaptiveness as a player. Like, I'm able to play every scenario to the absolute perfection, where the only thing that is impacting the outcome of my rounds is my mechanical skill. Your third focus is developing yourself as a team player, finding a team play value and playstyle to reach professional esports levels. Your solo value can be completely different from your team value. You need to ask yourself, what is that where I excel as a player? Am I a really good entry? Am I a really good lurker, flanker? Do I have really good timings, IGLing skill? Because there's not a single team that is gonna sign you if you don't have one or some specific values as a player that can fill in the gaps of other players in a team. Now let's talk about what is the main focus of this specific tier list. This tier list is showcasing the best agents for players' fast solo improvement. Different agents, as I said, are going to impact your individual skill sets on a different level. That is why the agent that you play matters quite a lot. Now, you also want to main agents that are going to put you in as many different scenarios as possible in order to grow as a player. Some characters in Valorant are simply stupid to be mained at a specific skill level. That is why choosing an adaptive agent that can play as many scenarios as possible and that is gonna put you in those scenarios is very important. It doesn't matter if your aim sucks. It doesn't matter if your entering is bad. You need to develop yourself in every single field if you're ever planning to become a pro player or a Radiant player in a game of Valorant. The main focus of this tier list is the ranked solo queue environment only, below Radiant levels. This tier list means absolutely nothing to you if you're just playing for fun or if you're already above Immortal 3 400 rank rating. Because in high elo lobbies and in esports environment, every agent is viable to some degree. Now, the next topic that we need to discuss is, does team composition matter in ranked? Team comps don't matter at all until Immortal 3, as long as you have a good controller for that specific elo and for that specific map. So up to Immortal 3, you can win every single match with 4 duelists and 1 controller that is a good controller player, and it really doesn't matter at all. Until Immortal 3, you should also master 2 agents completely and have 2 additional alternative picks if you really need to fill for some reason. Now, team comps are extremely important after Immortal 3, and you should be adapting yourself to different playstyles and different agents. Now, don't get me wrong, you can be a one-trick pony. I've reached Radiant 20 times since closed beta. I've completed enormous amount of challenges, like Shorty only to Radiant, Stinger only to Radiant, Bucky only to Radiant. I've completed Initiators, Controllers, Duelists, Sentinels to Radiant. Like, it doesn't matter that much. But when you're maining some character, you really want to learn ins and outs of that character. Next topic that we need to discuss and that I need to teach you is how do we divide players in Valorant? We divide players in Valorant in 3 specific categories. We have low elo, which is usually between Iron 1 to Diamond 3, and this elo is the elo where it is very important to develop your game knowledge, game decisions, and mechanical skill as a player. And in this elo, I would literally never fill at all. I would just play my main character or fill in a controller if I really need. Second elo in Valorant is the medium elo or mid elo, and that is Ascendant 1 to Immortal 2. This elo is the babysitting elo where you need to develop proper team play, communication, mentality, and attitude. Like, that is really like where all of the gorillas from the jungle are let loose, and you will need to compensate for every single stupid mistake that they make. Your main focus is not anymore like what you should do. You should already know what to do. You need to fully focus on the minimap and track every single bullshit that your teammates do. Players are extremely undisciplined, extremely toxic. Mentality of these players is extremely bad because some of these players have been hardstack Ascendant and Immortal for the last 3.5 years of Valorant. The third elo in Valorant is the high elo, and that is basically Immortal 3 to Radiant. In this elo, it is very important to develop your overall adaptiveness as a player and learning how to play as many different scenarios as possible in a game of Valorant. The scenarios that you're gonna come across in a game of Valorant is not unlimited. There's around 3,000, 4,000 scenarios that are gonna play out for you 24/7, and 99% of Valorant community has never done a single self-VOD review. Now we're coming to a bit of a juicier part of this video. How do we divide agents in Valorant? First of all, initiators, controllers, sentinels, and duelists do not exist for you. We have 4 categories of agents. We have movement type of agents, which are usually the best for overall players' fast improvement because they're gonna put you in enormous amount of different scenarios. We have flash type of agents, which are kind of mid-tier agents that are the best for situations where team play is possible. Immobile type of agents, low-tier agents that are only good for filling after Immortal. And we have the recon type of agents, which are usually the absolutely worst agents that you can main before Immortal. Movement type of characters in Valorant. In this category, we have exactly 5 characters, 5 agents. Those are Omen, Raze, Jet, Chamber, and Neon. Those characters are really good in every single elo wherever you play, especially if you're a newcomer, unranked player, or a player that is, let's say, below Ascendant 1. The second category, as we said, we have flash type of agents. These are the agents that are really good for team play, if the team play is possible, like if you're 5 stacking, if you're duo queue, triple queue, if you're playing in the lobbies above like Ascendant 1 and so on. And in this category, we have Phoenix, Yoru, Gecko, Breach, Sky, KO, and Reyna. Phoenix is good in every single elo. This agent notoriously has the highest win rate in Radiant lobbies. Very good character, very adaptive as well. Like, even though it is not a movement type of character, you can use the Phoenix wall in different ways to create a space. Yoru is not something I would recommend you below Ascendant 1, but Yoru is really good after Ascendant 1, especially in Radiant elo. Like, I feel that Radiant players have no idea how to play against the Yoru. Like, a good Radiant Yoru player can demolish Radiant brains, basically, like, especially in Europe. Now, we have also here Gecko, which is usually good after, like, Platinum 1 to Radiant. Very versatile initiator, and I will not play him, before Platinum 1 because I feel there are some better choices there for you. Then we have Breach, Sky, KO, and Reyna, which are all good after, like, Diamond 1, Ascendant 1. And actually, we have a problem with Reyna. Reyna is not a bad agent. I generally don't recommend players to play Reyna ever in my coaching sessions, even though some Valorant coaches would disagree with me because they say that, if you're between Iron 1 and Gold, you should work on your mechanical skill. I don't necessarily agree. If you're between Iron 1 and Diamond, yes, you should work on your mechanical skill. But that's why we have practice range, deathmatch. That's why you're playing the game. That's why we have aim trainers. You need to develop your game knowledge as well. What the fuck is Reyna gonna teach you? Now, the next category are the immobile type of characters. And those are the Cypher, Killjoy, Brimstone, Viper, Astra, Sage, Harbor, ISO, and Deadlock. These agents, as I said, like, I would usually not recommend for the players that are below Immortal 1, except Brimstone and Viper. And some of these agents I wouldn't recommend to even my worst enemy, regardless of your playstyle. For example, ISO, Deadlock, and Harbor. Sage is okay. She's kind of a necessity on some maps, such as Bind, such as like Split, for an example. But I still wouldn't fill in till like Immortal 3 and Radiant. Astra is a very powerful controller on some maps, but the problem is like up to Immortal 3, your solo queue carry potential with Astra is potato. Viper, why I recommend Viper after Ascendant 1, because Viper is very important on some maps. And when I say on some maps, I primarily mean like Pearl and Breeze. And Brimstone is also great on some maps, like for example on Bind, on Fracture, he's a necessity. Yeah, I mean Brimstone is a very easy character to be learned, to be mained. And Cypher and Killjoy, I'm gonna explain a bit later why I recommend them from Immortal 1. They're good agents. But the problem is that on the attacker side, you're gonna find yourself in a lot of shit. And the fourth category are the recon type of agents, which are usually the worst to be mained. And those are the Sova and Fate. What is the problem of Sova and Fate? These agents are not very self-sustainable, especially Sova. Most of the times you'll just be watching on your drone how your teammates are dying and entering the site. And Fate is like, she's not bad. She just received a lot of the nerfs lately, and her dogs are not as powerful as before. Her ultimate is not really on the same level as, for an example, Breach, Gecko, or Sky, in my opinion. And now, before I showcase you my agents tier list for ranked solo queue environment, we need to discuss what are the best agents from Valorant categories on different maps. This list is just a general guideline, and it should not impact your personal preference at all. But I generally recommend you, if you're finding success with your main agents, just stick to them. I'm not gonna showcase you this in a video, because this video would take us like a lot of time. Make sure to join my Discord server, and on Discord server you can find the full list. But also, on my Discord server, remember that you can get the ranked playbook for every single map with Jett, Omen, and some other characters as well. Like, let's move into the tier list, finally. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is my official Ultimate Agents tier list for 2024. I'm probably gonna change this, and I'm gonna update this tier list like bi-annually, or whenever there is some huge agents changes and updates. In the base tier are the Omen, Jett, and Raze. There's not a lot of things that I can speak about these agents right now. Omen can be anything. Omen is a duelist, initiator, controller, sentinel. Your imagination is simply the limit. Now we of course have the Jett there as well, and I would actually put maybe Jett slightly lower than Raze, because Jett did receive heavy nerfs, in my opinion. I kinda don't really recommend players, you know, from Iron 1 to Platinum 3 to main the Jett, because I think there are some other agents such as Raze and Omen that are better, but she is still like solo queue machine. Raze, still a very powerful agent to execute the bomb sites, to play different scenarios to perfection. You can clear the angles, clear the corners for your teammates, create variety of different gunfights to outplay the enemies. Now, in the S tier, we have Phoenix, Chamber, Cypher, Gecko, Breach, and Sky. Phoenix is a very, very adaptive character as well. Like, you can use your wall in various different ways. Outplace with the pop flash, through the wall, Molotov to clear the angles, to clear the bomb site. Not to mention, you have the ultimate that is only 6 ultimate points, and it's like an additional life. The number 5 is Chamber. Previously I was ranking the Chamber at B tier, but I'm gonna put Chamber in S tier because Chamber received a bit of buffs. And I feel that Chamber is really good, actually. With his TP, you can go for an enormous amount of plays. Headhunter is really good weapon. The trademark is still much better than before. Cypher is also something that might be surprising to you guys, but Cypher is not something I would recommend you before Immortal 1, but he is definitely S tier after Immortal 1. Tripwires are right now indestructible. And if you learn how to play Cypher on attacker's side in a bit more aggressive way, and not only lurking and flanking and playing alone and dying alone, and letting your team die alone, you can carry with this agent on both attackers and defender side. The next agent is Gecko. This might also be a surprising pick for you, but Gecko is very versatile character. His flash is not as powerful as Breach and Sky. His ultimate can be destroyed, and maybe it is not that powerful as Breach and Sky. Yes, the Wingman might not be that powerful, but still it is on some maps, and the Molly is really good. An overall good pick. Breach and Sky are here because they're very easy initiators to be used. Their flashes are one of the best. I still believe that Phoenix flash is literally the best in the game and borderline undodgeable, but when you have a proper utility usage with those two agents, you are an annoyance for the enemy team. And these two agents can definitely carry on a lot of different maps and in a lot of different scenarios. In the A tier, we have Yoru, Neon, Brimstone, and Killjoy. I cannot put Yoru in base nor in S tier. If you want to master Yoru, you'll need to spend an enormous amount of time learning the stupid lineups, setups, no matter what type of play you're doing, what type of strategy you're performing. Every execute with Yoru holds a specific level of uncertainty. You just don't know where the fuck you're gonna teleport. He doesn't have the versatility that Jet and Raze and Phoenix possess. Like, I cannot really recommend you to play Yoru as a #1 pick and #1 duelist. Neon is in A tier because she can be a very powerful duelist. She's still a movement type of duelist, so taking the space is very easy with her, especially with the stance with the wall and everything. I just feel that Neon needs some kind of a buff or change. I think her wall should apply some damage to the enemies or enemy utility. Like she's missing like a consistency. Now Brimstone and Killjoy are very static, you know, quote-unquote sentinels and agents. They're good, don't get me wrong, not bad agents, but the problem with these two agents is that they're missing a bit of versatility when it comes to the plays that you can go for, and if you have bad duelist or bad teammates with yourself, your clutch potential and your solo queue carry potential is significantly lower. Which leads us to the B tier, where we have Viper, Fade, Astra, and KO. Why is Viper B tier? To play Viper successfully, first of all, you need to develop, once again, a lot of lineups. You need to spend a lot of time in a custom server. You need to pay attention to so many different things, like toxin levels. Are your teammates gonna go in? Are your teammates not pushing at that moment of time? Like, there's so many other variables that can kind of fuck you up. Viper is the agent that you can only play in a double controller setup. The only map where you can play solo Viper, and where Viper is obviously the best agent in Valorant, is Breeze. Like, on Breeze, she is a necessity. And that is probably the main reason why I put the Viper into the B tier. Fade, I don't know about the Fade. Fade, you know, definitely got a lot of nerfs lately when it comes to the dog and some of the abilities. The reason why I put her in B tier is only because these guys are so much better than Fade, in my opinion. If Astra was not that strong in high elo lobbies, she would be a garbage tier for me. But Astra is extremely powerful after Immortal 1. The main problem with Astra is that you need a team to play around. Astra doesn't have that much of a solo queue carry potential, but Astra is a monster in Immortal 3 and Radiant lobbies. KO has the same problems as Fade, and that's why he's B tier. I just feel that his flashes are not nearly as powerful as Sky or Breach or Yoru. I mean, even Gecko to some degree. Molotov is good, Ultimate is good in a team play environment, but in solo queue, you might just waste it, and then God knows how your teammates are gonna push in. That's why KO is B tier. I have nothing else to say about the KO. Reyna, Sage, Sova, and Harbor are C tier. These agents are C tier either because they are going to engrave a very, very bad mentality and playstyle within your gameplay, and they are not gonna teach you that much about the game. They also have a terrible solo queue carry potential, depending on what type of player you are. Like with Reyna, if you're not a mechanical god, play something else. Sage is C tier because her heal got nerfed, and she's really a team play agent. Obviously, the wall is strong on some maps, and on Bind and Split, you need to have Sage. He's just very underwhelming to coach and to basically play the Sage in the same time. Sova, I already explained the Sova, why I would not even touch him basically up to Immortal 1, maybe even Immortal 3. In ranked solo queue, it really doesn't make sense to play Harbor as a solo controller. He can be great, but I really feel that you need very, very high levels of game knowledge, the decision making, and team play in order to utilize the Harbor to the full potential. And we have the absolutely garbage tier. I was really hyped in summer. I was like, Valorant right now is going to release the best two agents in the game. And then we got Deadlock and Ice. First of all, Iso is heavily missing versatility and adaptiveness, even more than Reyna, because Reyna at least has a dismiss. This shit has a shield that you need to shoot, by the way. Ultimate of Iso, good and bad. It has its own usage. A lot of times it's a hit or miss. I mean, anyways, you're forcing a 50-50 duel with an enemy. Wall, absolutely worst ability of Iso in my opinion. Like, it's way too small. It lasts for nothing. He needs some kind of a changes. The only two good abilities from Iso are definitely his paranoia, you know, the debuff, and the ultimate. And Deadlock, I'm not even gonna speak about Deadlock, like literally the absolute worst sentinel that we ever got. She's extremely underpowered. She doesn't have any place in a current meta. Like basically Valorant needs to nerfs all of the other sentinels and to buff the Deadlock in order to Deadlock to be viable. The main thing that Deadlock is missing compared to other sentinels is that her sensors need to be triggered not by sound but by movement. And this concludes my ultimate agents tier list. Now, what makes my tier list valid? It's proven to work. Like this methodology and this mindset that I have is just proven. Like I've coached 4,000 players. 80 or 90% of these players have seen significant improvements. From these 80 to 90% of players, 80% of them I've coached on either Omen, Jet, Raze, Phoenix, or Chamber. So 80 or 90% of players I've coached on these 5 agents. Thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a subscribe, leave a like, join my Discord server for private professional coaching. Also, check me live on streams like, you know, twitch.tv/charlatan. A lot of good tips, VOD reviews. You can get a free tracker review and stuff like that. And I will see you, my dear tricksters, my dear friends, probably when some new huge patch comes into Valorant. And by the way, listen, if you are maining Omen, Raze, and Jet on my Discord server, you can get the ranked playbook for every single map on these 3 characters already. I'm currently finishing the Yoru and Iso as well. See you later. Mwah!